Huh?
Is it gonna be in the shot that pot?
They can't see it.
No, 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 no.
Cause I was just gonna say.
It's gonna be in the shot now because
they left it.
hey, we get everything authentic.
What you see is what you get.
No
Okay,
editing
folks,
here.
we are live.
We are live.
Oh my gosh.
So-
I sent it, but I had it on airplane.
As usual,
Sorry.
if we can begin with prayer, cause class is in session.
All right.
Quiet in the back.
Quiet in the back.
All right.
I'll pray. Shema Israel, Yahuwah, Elohim, Yahuwah, Echad, Todah Rabbah, for this opportunity to gather with your people to hear your word. We just ask that you continue to be in the midst and open our ears and our hearts to gather an understanding of your word, that we may apply it to our lives, to be not only hearers but doers of your most holy word. We just thank you for our instructor today, and we just ask that there be true participation in the class, and just let everything be done decently in order. In Yahuwah's name, amen.
Amen. Okay. We had started reading the verses 1 through 10 before, but it's been 2 weeks, so we'll do it again. I would like someone to read verses 1 through 10, and then we will discuss certain issues that develop.
And this is 6, right?
Mm-hmm. Judges 6.
Right. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah delivered them into the hands of the Midian 7 years. And the hand of the Midian prevailed against Israel. And because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains, and caves and strongholds. And so it was when Israel had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites, and the children of the east, even they came up against them. And they encamped against them, and destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor donkey. For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitudes, for both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried unto Yahuwah. And it came to pass, when the children of Israel cried unto Yahuwah because of the Midianites, that Yahuwah sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, Thus said Yahuwah, Elohim of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt, and brought you forth out of the house of bondage. And I delivered you out of the hands of the Egyptians, and out of the hands of all that oppressed you, and drave them out from before you, and gave you their land. And I said unto you, I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Fear not the mighty ones of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, but ye have not obeyed my voice.
Okay, look at verse 8. It starts with saying that Yahweh sent a prophet to the Israelites. And he's the one that made this statement. Can anyone point out what's unusual about this statement so far?
With these questions.
Uh-huh.
When you say unusual, what do you mean in terms of what?
Okay, we've gone through Genesis,
Uh-huh.
Exodus,
Uh-huh.
Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Have we seen this statement before?
But he brought you out of the land of Egypt?
No.
That Yahuwah sent a
Yahweh
prophet.
sent a prophet to the Israelites.
Have we seen this before?
Yeah.
So in terms of the word prophet,
Prophet?
Sent a prophet.
But I thought he sent all the prophets. I mean, why
no.
would he? But the other prophets just showed up?
He always sent prophets.
This is
That's
what I'm talking
part of
about.
the
But
definition
this is
of
the
a
first time
prophet.
he defined it as a prophet, right?
Right, just as a prophet.
This is the first time.
This is the first appearance where he just sends a prophet. All the other times, Abraham prophesied, Joseph, Moses, but that wasn't their job of just prophesy. That's something they did as they went along.
Yeah.
This is the first time he sent a person just to prophesy.
Interesting.
And we're gonna see this as when we enter the age of the prophets. They didn't have side jobs. In other words, when he sent a person to prophet, that was a full-time job. He didn't also have to run the army, run the navy, organize government. This is a prophet sent just to get prophesied, that's all.
Is that because they didn't have a king?
No, hey, that's when you really needed prophets, when they had kings. Because it took prophets to keep the kings straight.
Right.
That's true.
And then we go into what the prophet is telling them, something they already know. I brought you up from Egypt and brought you out of the house of slavery.
He did that all the way through the Bible, reminding them.
This is the most common statement going through the Old Testament.
And every time I look up there, remember I brought you out of the land.
Right.
Of Egypt, you know. Don't forget what I did for you.
But they keep forgetting. That's why he had to keep telling them.
It's just human nature, I guess. I mean, you know.
Now, can anybody give us a modern equivalent of what who are the Midianites? Where they come from?
The land of meeting? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's where did they come from? Okay. I don't know.
Arabia,
Mm-hmm.
Northwest Arabia.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about
What tribe?
their ancestry, yeah.
Oh,
What tribe?
Where they? Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Who was the grandfather of the Midianites?
Lot,
Hmm?
wasn't it Lot? It was either Moabites.
It was Abraham. His second wife, was it?
Keturah?
Yeah.
The Midianite.
Somebody check that out.
That's right. It's a fourth son.
Oh, right. That's Isaac's brother. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes, it's Abraham.
Right. And what about who's the other tribe that was mentioned?
The Amalekites.
Amalekites. Anybody remember who they were? Who was their grandfather?
Now, is that one's Lot? Is that Lot?
Hmm?
Is that
From Amalek, son of Eliphaz, by his concubine Timnah, grandson of Esau.
Oh,
The
okay.
grandson of Esau.
So what?
Oh, Esau.
Esau.
Oh, I
Okay.
thought you were just smart. You just looked it up, huh? I thought that was the top of your head. So I looked back there. So
That is smart to actually look it up, right?
Looked it up.
That's smart though. Look it
That's
up.
smart. You looked it up. That's good.
Killing him.
I thought he was just a philosophy like that, a philosopher like that.
No.
But the interesting thing is, using the Moorish term, these are cousins. These are also Shemites, and who are doing the oppressing. These are also sons of Shem, Shem of Noah's 3 sons, and more than that, they're descendants of Abraham. Now, can anyone give an example of a modern day equivalent to what they're doing to the Israelites? What the Midianites and the Amalekites, what is this like if this was occurring in the 20th century?
You mean as far as ruling over them?
This particular group is not ruling over them. What are they doing though?
So is it like Jim Crow
Oppressing
laws?
them.
Jim Crow laws?
Remember Al Capone in
What, the
Chicago?
Prohibition time?
Not
The
the
gangster-
prohibition
the
part. He
gangster
had
part?
another way of making money.
Racketeering.
Racketeering?
Racketeer. And what would that be like? You run in a store selling groceries, and 2 men walks in and say,
You gonna pay us
"Right."
protection,
They take their money.
it's percentages?
You talking about taxes?
Is that what you gonna call it, taxes?
I would.
I call it strong arm robbery. Really, but that's what the boils down to.
But the key thing is, there's somebody just gonna, whatever the fruits of your labor is, they'll come and take it.
Yes.
That's not like the government.
That's it.
Give me your money.
It's sort of
It
like.
sounds
the
like
government.
filing income taxes, huh?
Yes.
But, the government do leave you something.
Not too much.
Your choice, jail or pay.
But they do leave you something, right? They leave you enough so that it's their interest that you continue to work, that you have housing, clothing, and shelter, so you can earn more money and pay them next year.
Again
and again and again.
These people weren't even getting that. They was taking everything. So if you had a harvest of wheat, they didn't, I mean, at least Al Capone let you keep a percentage that you could live off of. The Midianites, from reading this, was taking everything they had.
Left them nothing.
Left them nothing. So keep this in mind as we study it. Oh, by the way,
So wouldn't that be a form of slavery if you had nothing?
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking everything from you.
One of the things I've been pushing for years is slavery doesn't necessarily have to mean
Beating you.
chains on you and
Yeah.
beating you.
No.
If someone just gonna take everything you earn,
Then you under slavery.
Slave.
you're a slave. Now let's continue on, but keep that in mind. This is what we're talking about. Oh, by the way, who sent the Midianites?
Who what?
Who sent them? Who gave them power over
Yah.
Israel? Right. Why?
Because they kept breaking the commandments of Yah.
Trusting the Lord.
Mhm. And he kept telling them this, and we're going to see this all the way through Judges. Every time you start worshiping other gods, every time you start keeping my commandments, you're going to be oppressed. I'm going to pick out somebody to oppress you.
Sort of like putting you back in line.
It didn't work. When we read those through Judges, it's going to appear that the only way to keep them straight, because they're going to do it over and over again. It's that cycle. They're going to actually do this on up until the time, ultimately, first for the 10 northern tribes, until Assyria comes in. And for the 2 southern tribes, until he sends in Babylon. So we're going to be looking at this pattern as we go through the history for the next 700 years. They're going to do the same thing over and over again. Start worshiping idols. And I ask you, as we go through these examples, to bring them up to date, because it's the same pattern. It's going on right now. Okay. Now let's go through from 11. It's going to be a long one, but there's a lot to learn in here. 11 through 27. Who wants to take that task on? That's going to be a lot of reading.
Wow.
It sounds better if it's in a Jamaican voice. We can endure
Yeah, I like that Jamaican voice too.
it. We can endure it, sir.
Everybody looking at him.
Yazzie. We can endure it, Yazzie.
Jeremiah 6.
No, Judges.
I'm sorry,
Shofetiym.
Judges 6. See, y'all jumped on me. Oh, wait a minute. Nobody has a PDF, right? So I'm reading out of the Sefer.
Oh, that's not, yeah. Just whenever you read out of your own Bible, just tell who printed it.
Okay.
King James Version or whatever.
All right, Judges 6:11, reading out of Sefer. And there came an angel of Yahuwah and sat under an oak, which was in Ophrah, that pertained unto Joash and Avi and Ha-Izri and his son Gideon, threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midian. And the angel of Yahuwah appeared unto him and said unto him, Yahuwah is with you, you mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Adonai, if Yahuwah be with us, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles which our fathers told us of, saying, did not Yahuwah bring us up from Mitzrayim? But now Yahuwah has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midian.
Okay, hold on a second. This is a nice little twist here that shows you that this is, whoever did this translation was very precise. He's addressed as Adonai. Adonai.
Adonai, yeah.
What does Adonai mean in Hebrew?
My Lord.
Right. Okay.
Well, not my Lord.
Just Lord, right?
No.
What?
It's not Lord in the sense, it's more of my master.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
because Lord is Baal. Yeah.
Hmm?
Lord is a demon, Baal.
Okay.
Yeah, so this
Yeah, I know that's
yeah.
how Baal was addressed as
Yeah.
Lord.
But this means more my master.
That's how most of the disciples addressed Yeshua, right?
Yeah, master.
Right, they addressed him as master.
Right.
So you say Lord is like a demon term?
It's in Jeremiah,
It's in
but
Jer-
I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to do
Mhm.
rabbit
Yeah, that's a
trail right
rabbit
now.
trail, but it is in Jeremiah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it brings that out.
But the key thing is, who's ever doing the translation, why did they use Adonai at this point? Because we're going to find out this is Yeshua, or Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he use Adonai at this point?
More of an emphasis.
Mm-hmm. Well, at this point, do we know who this guy is?
Mm-mm.
Mm.
There's Gideon.
Mm. Right. Does Gideon know who this guy is at this point?
I would say no by the response.
Right.
Not sure, though.
This is a stranger walking up.
Yeah.
Right.
And usually, used to do it in this country, but back in the old days, whenever you made a stranger, you just said, sir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is how they address people, politely. We don't do that anymore.
No, we don't. What's up, dog? Hey, yo.
That's right. Okay.
I'll go to verse 14.
Right, keep on.
And Yahuwah looked upon him and said, go in this your might, and you shall save Yisrael from the hand of the Midian. Have not I sent you? Verse 15. And he said unto him, O my Adonai, wherewith shall I save Yisrael? Behold, my family is poor in Menashiah, and I am the least in my father's house. And Yahuwah said unto him, surely I will be with you, and you shall smite Midian as one man. And he said unto him, if now I have found grace in your sight, then show me a sign that you talk with me. Depart not hence, I pray you, until I come unto you and bring forth my present and set it before you. And he said, I will tarry until you come again. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid, a matcha cake of an ephah of flour. The flesh he put in the basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and brought it out unto him under the oak, and presented it. And the angel of Elohim said unto him, take the flesh, that matzah cake, and lay them upon this rock, and pour out the broth, and he did so. You said go to 26.
We can stop here because there's some things we have to digest. Okay, have you noticed the transition from verses 14 to 20?
The transition from the initial response.
Oh yeah, the guy walks up and he's a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
He starts off as a stranger. But at a certain point, Gideon begins to recognize what?
That he's all right.
Hmm?
This is Yah I'm talking to.
That
Yeah.
he's talking to Yah.
And then a conversation starts.
There's a transition in the conversation that occurs. And what's the first thing Gideon wants to do when it begins to dawn on him who this guy is?
Back out. Well,
Not quite.
Okay,
Show me a sign.
He wants to see a sign.
well, at 15.
Right. 19.
No, I'm saying, but at 15.
15 is like,
I said, how can I save Israel? Behold, my family is poor, and I'm the least in my father's house.
Right. Oh, that's the excuse he gives right off the bat.
Yeah.
But you notice this has been a pattern too.
Yeah.
Who else gives an excuse?
Moshe.
Right. And later on, who else is going to give an excuse?
The Jonah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jonah's going to be rebel. But this is another pattern you see.
Jonah, Kiefer.
Is they want to give an excuse, but in other words, he sees what's coming. He's seeing he's about to be drafted.
He's trying to
So
get
back out.
even before he's drafted, he's already giving an excuse. Do we do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Automatically.
Because you're afraid. You're scared. You don't know.
Mhm.
You know what to expect.
Unknown.
No, we use the word Navy. Never again volunteer yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, continue with 19. Now that this is where he asked for a sign, and it's an interesting sign that Yahweh comes up with. So go ahead.
Read 19 again.
Yeah.
And Gideon went in, and he made ready a kid, a matzah cake of an ephah of flour, and the flesh he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and he brought it out unto him under the oak, and presented it. And the angel of Elohim said unto him, take the flesh and the matzah cake, and lay them upon this rock, and pour out the broth, and he did so. Then 21, then the angel of Yahuwah put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the flesh and the matzah cake, and there rose up fire out of the rock, and consumed the flesh and the matzah cakes. Then the angel of Yahuwah departed unto his sight, and when Gideon perceived that he was an angel of Yahuwah, Gideon said, alas, O Adonai, Yahuwah, for because I have seen an angel of Yahuwah face to face, and Yahuwah said unto him, peace be unto you. Fear not, you shall not die. Then Gideon built an altar there unto Yahuwah, and called it Yahuwah Shalom. Unto this day it is yet in Ophrah of the Avi
Bezerite.
Azizrium is what I have, but
Oh, okay.
Ezrium. And it came to pass the same night that Yahuwah said unto him, take your father, young bullock, even the second bullock of the 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the Asherah pole that is by it, and build an altar unto Yahuwah Elohecha upon the top of his rock in the ordered place, and take the second bullock and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of Asherah pole, which you shall cut down. 27. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as Yahuwah said unto him, and so it was, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night.
Okay, everybody, if you've gone to Christian churches for any length of time, have you heard a sermon on Gideon or received a lesson on Gideon? What's the commonality you've heard in terms of them expressing Gideon's character?
Coward.
Right.
I've never heard it in the Christian church before. The story.
Hmm?
I've never heard the story in the Christian church.
Oh, you've never heard a story on Gideon in a Christian church?
What church did you go to?
People church.
Oh, people.
Yeah, it's on the CD and heard it.
I know.
You know,
I know where it is. Yeah, we know. We know.
Yeah,
We from here.
I live next to it.
Yeah, I live by right across the street by it too.
But the thing is, that's the most common sermon and lesson I've heard.
he was a scary kid. Look at him, couldn't do. Y'all told him to do something, and he had to go by night. He was a coward.
Okay, let's evaluate that coward statement for a moment. Who else in Israel was jumping up and fighting the Midianites?
Nobody. You know, you talk about in that particular
Right, at that particular time.
scene, y'all had to go and raise Gideon. So
Right.
if anybody was fighting them, then y'all wouldn't have to go raise nobody to go and do it.
And if they can get themselves out of this
Yeah.
mess, they would have done it.
Yes.
Everybody in Israel was doing the same thing.
Yes.
And also think about it. If you knew that if you went out and tried to harvest a wheat crop, and he had at least 10 servants, but your 10 servants are out there harvesting the wheat, and 1,000 Midianites drive down to take it from you, what are you going to do?
You gonna let them have it.
Here you go.
I still know I would.
We want another?
$10 of them, I mean, you know.
This is that's the surface analysis you often get in Christendom.
Everything has to be planned.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has to be planned. You have 10 servants, that's money. 1, 2, if they're gonna be killed, if they go out at a certain time, you plan for when the rest of the Midianites go by.
Right.
So you can come back afterwards, take the food, and go without nobody being harmed.
Like you
Right.
said, guerrilla warfare tactics.
That's prudent. And you notice we've seen this before. Yahweh oftentimes set up the start with a trick, with a ruse. Particularly when you're outnumbered. The guy that had the sword and wanted to talk to the king by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Said, I got a message for you.
I got a
Secret
message for you. But you often see this. The woman that put a spike through the commander of the Canaanite's head.
Yeah,
Ask for
L.
some milk. After he asked for some
Lay
milk.
down, rest yourself, relax.
Mhm.
Kaboom.
The tree 100.
One of the things that Christendom often does is tries to set, you're only serving Yah if you're pious, brave, no matter what the circumstances. If you go mano y mano. And that's the stuff we often get out of Christendom. But if we read the people he used, and we're going to see Gideon, he's going to use, it's going to be a trick. It's going to be asymmetric warfare. He's not going to tell him, you raise 10,000 men and you go against this 100,000 Midianites. And he does that for two reasons. Go ahead.
So, right, if I can, the one reason, the most important reason we always see is that it always has to refer back to Yah.
Right.
So if they had the strength to do that, they would look at themselves as the strength instead of Yahuwah. So therefore, Yah is showing them, this is what I'm going to do for you, and when it's done, they can continue to praise Him.
Right. They can't take credit for it. That's the number one reason. Number two reason.
But
Indeed, so.
I need the question again, because I was kind of rolling while you were saying that how Yah sets it up that, like you said, He will send the force so strong you cannot do it on your own strength.
Right.
It's not going to happen. So
Right.
I was just rolling off what you said, but
All right,
That's
what's number
true.
two?
That's number one reason.
What's number two?
It minimizes casualties.
oh yeah, well yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's guerrilla warfare. You know, you're not going there mano a mano like it's 300 versus 3 trillion.
Right.
You know, you have to have a strategic plan to get in and get
Get
out.
out. And with Dolores and Barak, they didn't have any casualties. And when Joshua followed his plans, he had no casualties. And we're going to see here, he's going to send 300 men out. How many is going to survive?
300.
If he's behind you, he's going to figure out how to win the war or win the battle
Without casualties.
without casualties. That's what's so incredible. When it's in the military, the last thing you wanted to be under is a commanding officer that didn't care how many people they lost.
Inexperienced commanding officer.
All inexperienced,
Yeah.
just as bad.
Yeah. And we had that in Vietnam
Mhm.
because they sent out the second lieutenants, and that's the first ones they put in the front line.
Right.
And they just out of the academy and stuff, and have no idea about
Right.
warfare.
Came out of
fighting.
college.
Yeah, out of college.
Yeah.
And they didn't, they came out of the what they call it, officers candidate training school.
Yeah.
whatever
Right.
else,
6-week training.
So were they out there reading a pamphlet trying to?
Yeah, trying to lead you.
Yeah.
And you done gone through all of it. Yeah.
Oh, it's even worse than that. Then they start asking us, right?
Yeah, they
So
that's
they're like,
the ones
what
that
should we do?
what should
But
we
that's
do?
what good officers should do.
But they
That's
still want to take the
that's-
credit.
Uh-huh.
And so it becomes this weird scenario. Everybody knows who's actually in charge.
Right.
And then it becomes this weird issue of who's
But-
a leader.
Well, I was trained, they said the best
Who's the
units
leader?
are the ones where the first
Chooses the
sergeant
sergeant. Yeah,
stays in charge.
Mhm.
because
If you got a man that's got 15 years
Yeah,
of
I mean,
combat
that's-
experience,
right.
and you got a fresh lieutenant right out of West Point,
yeah, well, yeah,
He should
out
be
of
right.
Office Kennedy Training School. Yeah.
or
Yeah,
OCS,
OCS.
90-day wonders they used to call them.
That's
Right. 90 days and they know everything, and they're going to lead you in combat.
But the key thing is the last thing you want to be in charge of is a person who wants to be in charge of your life, sending you into a war type situation, is a person who hasn't thought about casualties, hasn't thought about how to achieve the collective objective with the minimum of casualties.
And that's kind of interesting on Gideon, because that's another thing that's in the Christian church, about you're not supposed to ask Yah questions.
Oh,
Don't ask them questions. And we see here, he's, basically he asks his commander in chief,
even after he realized
Yes.
this is Yah. he
show me a
started-
sign.
Right. Oh, that's a sin in Christian church.
Yeah. Because they say, wicked is adulterous generation, always seek out the sign. And they use that and link it up with everything else. But
But they don't put it in context.
Yes.
Now, when Yeshua was saying that to the Pharisees and the scribes, what was the context?
They were trying to question first his authority.
Right.
And first he wasn't going to honor what they were saying anyway, because they was trying to trap him anyway.
And he knew it.
Yeah,
It wasn't good faith.
yes.
And second, when the wise men wanted to know where the king is going to be born, who told them? Who told Herod where to go? The wise men where to go.
Was it the shepherds? Am I off? Was it?
It was the scribes and Pharisees.
Okay.
The authorities of the Bible.
The authorities on the Bible, who had all 300 prophecies on Yeshua's behavior. Everything from where he's going to be born to he's going to enter Jerusalem on a donkey. All this stuff was before them. And they couldn't figure out who the Messiah was. Well, he's fulfilling all of the prophecies right in front of them. Gideon hadn't read the whole Testament, so he's going on for
Speculation.
ignorance of what he knew at that time. He didn't have 300 prophecies.
But he did respect Yahuwah. He said,
Right.
if I have found grace. So that's kind of letting you know the mindset. Like, you know, like, I'm hearing what you're saying, but this is the state I'm in right now. So you have mercy on me. You know? Please show me a sign. You know? I think that's a very good position to be in.
But that's the you see that across the board. You know, if you are who you are, we make this carpet wet, right? So what you're seeing is a point of we need to make sure we're talking to Yah, and we're not talking to somebody else.
Right.
And
Who
so-
else could be talking to us?
To be
Lots of time.
Right.
And so we need clarification. So for other religions to say, "Oh, don't question," that's a demonic statement. You know, we have to question. We need to know: is this Torah?
And who asked us to question him? You stated it when you made your presentation last week, right off the bat. Who has made the requirement throughout the Old Testament that we ask him questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, let us reason together.
Let us reason together. You had a couple of
I can't remember off top, but yeah.
Right. If we're gonna sharpen each other, you know, why would Yah tell us to sharpen each other? And then when the main teacher comes up, we just be silent. You know, that's why when the Hamashiach came, he came to sharpen us. So we ask questions. We are disciples for the factor of being able to ask questions and continue to keep asking questions. Yeah, he's gonna roll his eyes sometimes, but he's still gonna answer your questions if it fits the narrative of how do we learn, how do we do this, how do we make sure we're on that narrow path. You know, so it is the key to how we walk.
right.
So how did Gideon know for sure that he was Yahweh?
Oh, this is where we start. This is where he started. First, he asked him to, you know, sort of like, which was the prophet? This is sort of setting up a type. Was it Ezekiel? Not Ezekiel. Oh man, it's all
In terms of
on Mount Carmel. With the big.
Elijah.
Huh? Elijah.
Well, that was all cut themselves. It's like, oh, cut yourself some more. Scream out loud.
Yeah.
And
Maybe he's not here.
What was the contest between him and the prophets of Baal? They lay out an offer.
Right. See who, which of theirs would be the one
That's accepted.
that's accepted.
And how will Yah's acceptance be demonstrated?
He came down and sucked all that water up with that fire. It consumed
Right,
every
it
bit.
consumed the offering.
Yeah.
This is
That's
same
like
thing.
prime example of knowing who he is then, right?
Well, it's a sign. He asked for a sign.
Yeah.
And so what does the angel of Yahweh tell him to do? Go get an offering.
Prepare offering, yep. That's what it was. An offering.
And he set up the offering. And then he just zaps it. What it said with a wine in his hand, he just zaps it.
Yeah.
It consumes the offering. This is going to be the same thing that happened with Elijah later on. But I like the little twist here. Anybody notice the humorous twist?
That they took that they were worshiping the demon.
Yeah, they were worshiping Baal.
Baal.
What was the object they were using to worship?
the same thing he used for the, did he offer the same thing for the sacrifice?
Yeah, the wood. They had a
pole.
statue.
Yeah.
A statue of Asherah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him use that
Yeah.
as fuel
Yeah.
to consume the offering to
Right.
him. Who says y'all don't have a sense of humor?
So he was sort of like laughing at that. Well, okay.
Okay. And it's gonna be funny. Let's see, somebody take a look at 28 through 35.
And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was cast down, and Asherah pole was cut down that was by it, and the second bullock was offered upon the altar that was built. And they said one to another, who has done this thing? And when they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon, the son of Joash, and has done this thing. Then the men of the city said unto Joash, bring out your son, that he may die, because he has cast down the altar of Baal, and because he was cut down the Asherah pole, he has cut down the Asherah pole that was by it.
Now read slowly and carefully his response.
Sure.
Which is,
And Joash said unto all that stood against him, will ye plead for Baal? Will ye save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death while it is yet morning. If he be an Elohim or a God, let him plead for himself, because one has cast down his altar. Therefore, on that day he called unto Jerubbaal, saying, let Baal plead against him, because he has thrown down his altar. Then all the Midian and the Amalekium and the children of the east were gathered together and went over and pitched in a valley of Yitzreel. But the Ruach Yahuwah came upon Gideon, and he blew a shofar, and Aviezer was gathered after him. He sent messengers throughout all of Manasseh, who also was gathered after him, and he went and he sent messengers unto Asher and unto Zebulun and Naphtali, and they came up to meet them.
okay, so I'd like to, you're gonna see that same response. His father said to them basically, that Baal's so great, he can defend himself.
I do have a question to ask.
Go ahead.
So in 27, it says that Gideon decided to do it by night.
Right.
You know? But then when they asked who tore down in 29, they all knew Gideon did it.
Did it, right?
How?
That's a good question. How did they know Gideon? I'm throwing that out to myself because I don't know.
Yeah, that's what.
It's like when, you remember when you be in class and somebody been teachers back at term and somebody does something they shouldn't do it, but the minute they do it, everybody in class knows who did it.
It's character. Because it might have been because of his character.
Right.
And so, if something like that, even like with the example you said with class, people know who the joker is in class. So when something happened, they automatically just will assume it's that person.
Right.
So if Gideon's walking around there and he's walking with Yah, and they know his character, ain't the first thing, he's gonna be the first person they suspect to have done it. Now,
That makes sense.
That
yeah.
makes
they put him on blast without proof.
but that makes sense because then it's like it would make sense to me the reason why then Yah chose Gideon.
Right.
Because that probably wasn't as hard. Like I want to do something about this.
But what can I do?
Yes.
I'm just one man.
Yes. So that makes
Right,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense. But the key thing is recognizing these questions as you read through the Bible. But that's a good thing you recognize that.
Now, I guess it too. Also, not trying to talk too much, but I guess like cause Baal is still worshipped after this chapter, and it's kind of interesting that he doesn't come down and defend himself yet. Still, people are still following and worshiping him. So I just find that pretty interesting.
And I find it interesting that even though his father evidently was allowing this, when his son is threatened, he stepped up to defend him. And he defended him the best way of all. Saying, okay, if Baal is a god, why don't he punish you? Or punish my son? Now, here's another thing we see. The spirit of Yahweh clothed Gideon. What are we talking about that? You guys talked about it last week. The spirit of Yahweh.
The Ruach.
Right.
His breath.
His breath.
Yes.
Not a ghost, right?
No.
It wasn't
Holy
a ghost
Ghost?
there. Ooh.
No, not Casper. Space Ghost.
Mm-hmm. And this also, with the spirit of Yahweh operating on Gideon, is even further reason that when this is all over, Gideon can't take credit. Now let's finish it up. He asked for another sign, right?
36 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
And Gideon said unto Elohim, if thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said, behold, I will put a fleece of wool on the floor, and if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth besides, then shall I know that thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said. And it was so, for he rose up early on the morrow, and thrust the fleece together, and wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. And Gideon said unto Elohim, let not thy anger be hot against me, and I will speak but this once. Let me prove, I pray thee, but this once with the fleece. Let it now be dry only upon the fleece, and upon all the ground let there be dew. And Elohim did so that night, for it was dry upon the fleece only, and there was dew on all of the ground.
Okay. Now, don't you think maybe you start losing patience at this time?
I mean, take the Holy Spirit out of His word.
Huh?
I came in late. How come he just didn't take the Holy Spirit out of His word? That I want you to do this, go do it.
We went all through that.
He was a coward. I came in late. He was a coward. He was scared.
No, he wasn't a coward.
He wasn't a coward.
He wasn't a coward.
What you call it?
I'm going to call him a coward because we still see he's carrying out those acts.
So
Right.
what would you call it?
A man that's looking for reassurance.
Yeah. Because a
He was
coward.
being careful.
So if you break down what a coward is, it's a person that turns the other way
And stay that way.
and stay that way.
David, why don't you pull up the coward? You really pretty good at that thing. Let's hear the definition of a coward.
They put all this stuff
You
away.
ready to go, man?
My mind is on something else.
Yeah.
Well,
Not in the
you
script.
not in here, man?
Hey, let's put the camera on that man. He said,
yeah.
this is the script stuff.
He's not in here. I'm just messing with you.
You know, how you spell coward?
C-O-W-A-R-D. Yes, we went through that.
C-A-M-I.
Oh. Well, apparently coward, that word ain't in script, so we'll have to find another way.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I don't want to be on camera, man. I could be
You
wanted.
don't want it to catch you sleeping, huh?
I could be wanted or something.
Your brother around the world.
Wow.
But before you just find that word, we see here about Yah honoring a request to the specifics,
Mm-hmm.
and what that show towards us when we pray unto Yah. You know, it's showing that like we don't have to be worried that Yah won't perform a work for us
Right.
if we in the right standard with Yah. Because we see that Gideon was doing, we would say the most, you know, but he was doing very specific. I need details. I need you to take the leaf off of the tree and then put it on the ground, and then the next morning put it back into the tree, you know, and then Yah was, I'm just giving a paraphrase, but Yah honored everything that Gideon asked him to do.
And he didn't strike him dead because he asked for test.
So it just lets us know about how, you know, things that are focused in our life, how Yah understands what's going on and can directly help us.
Right.
When
But
we
as
call
long
upon
as
him.
the Christian is in good faith,
Yes.
he doesn't mind it. In fact, he welcomes it, and as you stated last week, he tells us to question him. But some kind of way we picked up in Christendom this concept that if you question anything, some kind of way,
You're doubting him.
you're doubting him, you're coward.
Yeah.
But doesn't he know what you're gonna do before?
Of course,
Hand.
yes, that's it, right.
But
That's
we're-
why you think he's so patient.
I know,
See
that's what
how
I'm saying, but
patient
he knows
is?
he's gonna do what he wants
He
to
knows
do.
he's gonna do
But
it
we're the one
anyway.
that we're the one that are limited. You know, we the one that are, got that limitation. So
Mhm. But to jump on, I mean, you know, I think it's really unfair. I mean, it lays it out. There's 120,000 Midianites running around, ready to jump on you in a minute. And because you don't pick up a sword and go charging all these Midianites, you're a coward?
No, that's dumb. No, he was very precise. Yah picked Gideon because he had a gift
Right.
that he gave to him, and he had a gift of reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Yah heard his questions, he just saw the patiousness
Mm-hmm.
was.
The dew on the sheep, took the
Right.
sheep,
What's that?
and
Floor.
you lay it out, so you know in the morning there's gonna be dew on something.
but
And
not, but not only that, that he made him do that act, and then the next act reverse the act.
reverse the act. So this is the third test we've seen so far. And somebody pointed out, why is it important to test him? If you think something is coming from Yah, why is it important to test?
Again, it's because you want to make sure that it
That
is
you're
from
doing the right
Yah,
thing for
not
the right
Hasatan.
reason.
That is
Right.
for Yah, that Yah
Because
actually
who's gonna
directly-
come up with miracles in the last days?
Hasatan.
Through,
On the seed.
through his seed, his own seeds.
Right, so when you ask for a test of a supernatural, there's two spirits out there. That's why you should always be careful. I'm in the
Good and
spirit.
the
Which
evil.
spirit are you in?
He said he will present.
Because there's only
himself
two
as the
spirits
angel of
out there
light.
that you're dealing with.
Right.
Mhm.
So if you've been walking with Yah long and you've been going through these tests, but when it comes to certain things, then you already know that's him speaking to you?
How did you know when he first addressed him? It shows right off the bat. He didn't know this was a stranger.
Yeah.
It's a stranger that walks up.
To Gideon. I was talking about our own personal lives here on this side.
I understand, because when you say it's two spirits you're dealing with, Hasatan and Yah.
Right.
In my mind, it's three, because you're dealing with Hasatan, Yah, and then yourself.
And that's true too.
Because we see this, like, especially in Christendom, people saying that Yah told me this, or
Right.
God told me this, the Spirit's leading me to do this. But you don't know if the Spirit's leading you to do that unless you test that against
Right.
Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he was doing. He was testing y'all to make sure that this is y'all telling me to do this. Because how many times we felt like something y'all was telling us to do something, but when I hear people say stuff like that, I'm like, Well, you saying the spirit is telling you that, but I don't know if the
Who
spirit
was
telling
that
you that.
comedian
That's just your
that
mind.
every time he got caught
be the
something,
devil
doing
telling
something wrong, he said the devil made
Flip
me
Wilson.
do it.
Yeah.
Flip Wilson.
And you knew it was phony as hell because it was him wanting to do that. And he blamed it on the devil. You find out coward yet?
No, I didn't
Maybe
find
he
out.
was there.
I didn't find I found the opposite, courage.
Right.
But, so to go back to the question, this is just, I just found surprising. So Gideon asked a question for Yah for what to do with the two, right? But if you look at, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 2.
Chapter 32, verse 2.
Yes. It says, my doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, as the shower upon the grass. So he's pulling from scripture
Right, the test.
to test something that is of the same walk in Torah. He hasn't changed anything. He's asking Yah for what is already in his will.
Mm-hmm.
So when people read this, they go, what? He's asking him to wet the carpet? He's not asking him anything that Yah's like, that's not new.
Mm-hmm.
He says, because you're asking me to say something to that and make it happen. And then he says, okay, I want to see it on both sides. Because I know Hasatan can do one or the other, but can you do both?
Right.
He's clarifying what he already knows that's in scripture. So he's being familiar with his father.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is like, well, shouldn't he already know? Yes, but sometimes that's generally what we are. We are required, like you said earlier, we are required to question to make sure it is from our daddy.
Right.
And not from somebody who's pretending to be our daddy.
Mm-hmm.
My sheep know my voice, and
Yes.
no other
Right.
will they follow.
Because what was Gideon's doubt? What is his doubt? He expressed it.
It goes back to 13. Well, I don't know that doubt, but on Judges 6 and 13, Gideon said unto him, O my master, if Yahuwah be with us, why then is all this befallen us?
Right.
And then he goes back to specifics. And where be all his miracles, which our fathers told us, saying, did not Yahuwah bring us from Egypt? So when Gideon was asking Yah these questions, it was to clarify that was the same Yah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the response would have been different towards what his fathers had told Gideon, how Yah.
That's true too. That is true. But his specifics though, once he knew, he was pretty sure it was Yah. As he zeroed in on who he's talking to, did he express any doubt that Yahoo couldn't accomplish what he set out to do?
No.
What was his doubt?
I think it's
That was it.
Yah.
Right.
And then,
Oh yeah, because go ahead. Yeah.
no, go ahead.
He said, and Gideon said unto Elohim, if thou wilt save Israel by my hand,
Right.
as thou hast said. So like you said, the doubt was within himself.
Within
Like,
himself.
are you sure you calling me to do this? If you're calling me to do this, I'm going to go for it.
Right. But I want
just
to make
want to be
sure
sure.
it is you
Yes.
who are calling me to do that.
So, Greco-Roman definition of coward. A person who lacks the courage to do. And so that's important. A person who lacks the courage to do.
Right.
So that means, what is all Gideon doing? I mean, he's here doing stuff. Or endure dangerous and unpleasant things. So he's going through. So he's showing courage, not cowardness. Because a coward would never stay around.
Right.
A coward is going to have his place in judgment.
I thought when we first started off here, we said that Gideon was a coward.
No,
No,
I said that's
no,
what
no,
the Christian
no,
church
no.
said.
Okay, I think that'll wake everybody up.
Right.
That's what the Christian church
We
is
know how
always
you
on.
are.
Every sermon,
This guy starts stuff.
every sermon, and every class I've received on Gideon, it starts off that he's a coward.
No. Right, and this shows that this man was so precise, and every step he took, he said, okay, you did this, okay, like somebody mentioned, I feel that he's telling me to do this. Gideon will go, before I make one step, I need to make sure it's you that's telling me to do this. And so he would continue, okay, let's make this happen. Okay, is it you, Yah? Prove to me that it's you. And he would always refer back to Torah.
Right.
In terms of even his questions, even though they seem off, we can find the precepts in scripture to go, okay, Yah's like, okay, you're following Torah, I'm gonna do what you asked me to do. So that's what makes him very powerful.
That's right. And it's three spirits, as Damien points out. Because you've got your own unconscious desires.
What I
You don't know
we
what
say
to-
it's three of them, or could we say it is two?
I would say it's two.
But the spirit of the air is always Hasatan.
Right.
And he has corrupted the air that we breathe, that can cause confusion in us to believe that we are thinking for ourselves based on the world.
I got you, because that goes back to Maury's lesson on Thursday night, because Hasatan is the spirit of the
He
air.
is what? The God of
God
this
is air,
world.
which goes again, he speaks to our base nature.
Yes.
So if we're not in line with Yah, if we're trying to do everything on our own, then you're going to worship one master. You're going to worship one. So if you're not in line with Yahuwah, your base nature will be ruled by Hasatan.
So that's similar to what he preached today, right? That you can't serve two masters.
Right.
Right. So there are two laws. So that's why my mind only focuses on that. There's a law of Torah, and then the opposite, the law of sin, and flesh, or like you said.
Yeah.
So with that, we only have those two choices. There is no in between.
But and you couldn't find coward, but in Revelations 21 and 8.
21 and 8.
Well, I'll go to 7. 21:7. He said, "He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, the murderers, and the whoremongers, and the sorcerers, and the idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death." So a fearful one is a coward.
Sure, that's what that means. Because I'm
Fearful.
I think it's life and death
If you
situation.
fear to
I'm
do
gonna
this
be
thing,
scared.
fear to do this thing, and you're scared. So
Right.
But
But
we-
you
but we-
overcome the
we-
fear, right?
We're equating fearful because Yah is equivalent to itself. So if we say Gideon is a coward, a fearful, that means that once that higher authority told him to do something, he's like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And go back on it. That's fearful. So you're fearful of the circumstances. You're not fearful of your Elohim.
Okay. Well, you're not talking about, like a lot of Hebrew translations, love, fear, hate, like he dealt with today. He's not talking about emotions.
No.
No.
It's the
Because
act.
you're going to be scared.
It's the act.
Right.
Not the emotion, the act. So, because let's say with Gideon, he said, we're talking about Gideon in Christian church, say he was a coward. But yet we're seeing he's acting
Right.
on everything that Yahuwah has commanded him to do. He is asking for some signs, but after he gets those signs, he's still getting that assurance. He's acting on it.
Because he's went out and he tore down the altar of Baal, used the altar of Asherah as fuel for it. And he did it at night because he knows his neighbors are not going to like it. They're going to want to kill him for it. But he's going ahead and doing it anyway.
I'll give an equivalent. I don't know if this will occur, but it's like Yah will say, I want you to go to Mecca and tear down that stone that they walk around.
Wow.
Tear it down.
You would
Burn
I
it.
need some proof.
This is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying, right? You see how much you're outnumbered, right? And that's something like, man, you telling me to go into
They're
Mecca
around there with machine guns.
and do what? That's how I'm trying to get an
No,
equivalent of what's
that's
going
what we
on.
should
Because
do.
Baal was a form of worship. We worshiped. There was many people that worshipped Baal and Estra. So for Yah to give Gideon that command, that was something that's like, okay, I need to have your reassurance that this is you telling me to do this.
Right. I think, who was the guy that was sent to Nineveh to
Jonah.
Jonah, right? And people jump on him for wanting to go to Nineveh. And I've heard this in the Christian church. I said, well, that's equivalent to if you living in 1920 in Mississippi, a guy telling you to go to this Ku Klux Klan meeting and witness to them.
After you know they done hung your uncle, your mother,
Right.
like you know this,
Right.
like you've seen it.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, now you go in there and you tell them that Yah is here.
Y'all sent me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said,
Y'all sent me.
To redeem you
Yeah.
from all your wickedness.
Yeah.
and what's your biggest hope if you try to run away,
Get
but
through it.
he sends a fish and send you right back there? What are you gonna hope for when you do witness to them?
That they don't turn.
That they don't turn.
Right. And then when they turn,
That's
you're gonna
basically.
be you're gonna be upset because you remember.
They done lynched about 10 people in your
Yeah.
little town in the last
And now
week.
you're gonna turn to y'all? Like, no, y'all, you gotta kill these people. And so it becomes, yeah, that part is hard for people to understand unless you, just like you said, we have to put ourselves in that scenario. Somebody murders your father and your mother, and then y'all says go to him and witness to him. You're like, what? No, that's not gonna happen. And then you go, and then you're just sitting there going, just can't wait for him to kill him. That's all. And then he goes, I repent.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot turn off the picture that your mother and father was killed by this person.
Right.
And y'all says, they're good.
Because the picture you guys are painting is this, and it's something we always got to remember. It's something I try to remind myself all the time. We're all sinners.
That's right.
None of us have a leg up
That's right. That's right.
in terms of being better than
The next person.
next person.
So that's like when Yah sends you to do something, your focus should be on what you have done to him
Mm-hmm.
in your past
Right.
that could have got you wiped out.
Right. Because why in the Midianites jumping on the
Because they
Israelites?
transgress Yah's law.
Because what shows that right at the beginning? What's the first thing he's supposed to do? Tear down the altar of Baal.
Mm-hmm.
The reason you're being suppressed is right in front of your face.
Worshiping false gods.
Worshiping false gods.
Yeah.
And we started doing it today.
Yeah.
Who's Asherah?
Easter.
Easter. What do we do every Passover? Instead of celebrating the Lord's Supper, what do most of us do?
Hide eggs and have bunny rabbits
Right.
running around. And
Bunny rabbits that
Bunny
deliver
rabbits
eggs.
and all that stuff. All of that
how did
is
that come into play for Easter anyway?
Long story.
I know it's on story, but make it short. Yeah, give me a brief synopsis of it.
Haven't you been around the ark? I know you know this story, man. Come on.
No, that's green.
No, I'm not telling you.
Tell me the story.
No,
Come on now. Tell me the story. I don't know. I'm old and I forget.
You always use that number.
He that have an ear, let him hear.
Cut it short. Most of them, the Easter Bunny comes from, what was it, Nimrod, the Cimarron. Easter Bunny represents fertility. That's where it started. In Babylon, not Babylon. That's where the Easter Bunny comes
And
from.
the eggs definitely represent the first.
And the eggs too. That was all part of the celebration of East Asherah. Mhm. It's nothing new under the sun. This is,
Ladies are done.
the ladies are done? Okay then. Well, we finished today's lesson anyway. Read ahead, we're gonna get into Judges 7, how we get down to 300 men, and the tactics used. And after that, once the war is won, as so many happens with so many people of the Bible figures, Gideon is gonna go south. He's gonna start messing up.
No.
No.
Another Hebrew.
All right.
Everybody can't be straight.
Shalom.
Are we done now?
Okay, who's gonna end us, Steve? End us in prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, we want to say thank you for this day, dear Heavenly Father. Thank you for this class, dear Heavenly Father.